So Fire Force got pretty serious quite quickly. I wasn't expecting them to just immediately jump into, okay, this other division, it's pretty corrupt, let's just go in there, break down their doors, steal their research, and see what's truly going on behind those closed doors. I wasn't expecting that so soon, but holy shit, am I glad they went this direction. This episode was quite fun. I wasn't expecting also to get some just content towards Sister Iris, but I'm glad we did because there was obviously something troubling her. We kind of could look at the opening, see that obviously she had some form of connection to this seemingly corrupt captain, or maybe just more delusional than anything captain, and I thought it was interesting seeing just the pain behind that smile she puts on in the open, but clearly there was something troubling her, and obviously their area that they grew up in, it probably burnt down, something happened, and obviously she continued on the path of God, whereas the captain didn't. And I thought it was interesting just seeing so much emotion through pretty much no dialogue. I love her looking at the burnt picture, just reflecting on obviously her faith, but then you'd get over to the other division and just see God as a laughingstock to them. And I think it's interesting because the entire purpose, or at least the entire point of the division we're following, it has the idea that before you take someone's life as an infernal, there's the sisters who will let them pass on, as they clearly have some form of religion. But with the other division, it seems like it's completely non-existent because their captain has completely just said screw this and tossed it out the window. So I thought it was interesting, especially because of course you have characters like Shinra who would obviously notice something is wrong. He's not an idiot, he's just a little perverted sometimes. So I thought it was interesting how he was trying to help her, but obviously this isn't something that you want someone to notice that you're upset with. When the time's right, they would open up in their own way. So I was quite happy to see that nothing about this episode dragged on. You would get, okay, the sister's upset, where's that's going to go? Maybe in a few episodes, she'll be able to interact with her former friend, family, companion, whatever she may be, but within a matter of an episode, she goes and confronts her and talks with her because they once had a connection, let's see what's going on. And obviously, there's a lot we don't know about this relationship, but I felt like you could just get the hostility that something happened with that fire. Something went down, and to just see how they're completely different, I think that's going to be interesting to see where it's going to go. And I just love how snappy this episode was. It was just, okay, there's seriously something going on wrong here. Shinra's not going to be alone with maybe just Captain Obi kind of backing him up. No, they all say this has been going on for far too long. They might even have the cure, or at least the explanation on spontaneous combustion. We have to figure this out. Let's go kick down their doors. I'm like, okay, we're just getting right into it. And I have to say, I appreciate the Fire Force isn't beating around the bush. They understand when it's okay to just start bashing indoors and seeing some pretty badass things occur. Something I'm quite digging is just the power system in this show. It's pretty ridiculous, as you'll have things such as just bubblegum explosion blowing some bubbles and then they just go off in the distance. You have obviously one of our companions who has the ability to kind of control just the explosion from his gun, so he can shoot people in the head but have the impact to be non-lethal, or lethal if he wants to be, and clearly has more fun attacking humans than he does attacking infernals. So it's kind of interesting just getting some pretty sick and twisted personas from our own organization as we're trying to beat down another corrupt organization, but I can't help but say I love it. You have the whole idea with just Arthur and Shinra, which has been badass since day one. I just love the absurdity. Hell, you even get to see one of the Infernals we just fought who has gotten a power-up working for the Fire Force, and it's just like, holy shit, there's just so much we don't know about this organization. We thought, okay, Shinra's joining an organization, helping people, but then you get into all this weird corruption and sabotage and what's going on behind closed doors. How did a sister become someone in this organization so quickly, and why is it so different from Captain Obi's? And I love that. There's so much we don't know, but also at the same time we know quite a bit, and it just feels like at every moment there's a question brought up. We're like, I wonder what this is. It feels like in a matter of a very short amount of time, we get an answer while getting another question that keeps the ball moving, keeping the organization, the corruption, the mystery, and just the overall objective and arc that this series wants to go. So it keeps moving forward, but at the same time giving us enough satisfying answers that we keep feeling like we're learning new things each episode, while also wanting to see completely new angles we didn't even think about with the prior episode. And I really enjoy that. It's just, I just love the personalities. They're all fun in their own way, and it's just so fun seeing different pairings interact. Of course, I think Arthur's probably my favorite character just for his comedy. He's been funny since the minute we saw him, but just seeing them train on the rooftop and there'll just be a bird and he'll call it a griffin. The dude's so delusional and I love how lost he is with the King Arthur just persona, and then within the battles, he'll just be so worthless. You'd be like, what happened to him? He's not doing anything right, and he'll be like, oh, I'm using the wrong hand, and then he becomes a badass. There's just something so ridiculous about this personality that I can't help but love him, especially when he interacts with the others, primarily Shinra, as they just insult one another. Hell, most of the crew thinks Arthur's one of the biggest idiots within their organization, but he has the skills to be a badass, and I just love the ridiculous shenanigans he gets caught up into. And then you just see all the characters and just how they'll insult one another. Like, they'll just have lines be said like 90% of the time, she's so sweet, but that 10%, man, that just ruins it all. There's just a savagery to some of the dialogue in this. It just feels like a really close group of friends at the end of the day. This is the type of bickering you only have when you are friends with someone with a really good bond, because if you say most of the things that are said to some of these characters in just a random person, it's not going to end well. It's going to be a fight, and sure, some of these characters do fight, but it really does feel like a really close group of people, and that's why you can insult one another so well, and I just love that bond because it's so entertaining. The idea that with last week's episode, we're really like, okay, this organization, there's something shady. There's some really bad things happening behind closed doors. Maybe they're not evil, but obviously they're not walking a righteous path as someone like Shinra is. And I was figuring episode 9, maybe by the end of the first core, we'd get like, this would be the arc for the first core, right? Figure out what's going on with that, maybe learn some more about the Infernals, there'd be something with the main antagonist that we did get a glimpse of in prior episodes, but within one episode we start moving forward, and I like how there's logical reasons for that, because this isn't like the first time they have thought this side of the Fire Force has been shady. No, they've always been keeping information in. There's been rumors about just experimentation, so they have reasons to doubt before this. It's just that Shinra's situation was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. So I like how, for us, this is so quick. We're like, holy shit, we were just starting to question them, and we're already breaking down their doors. But for a majority of these characters, they've already had their suspicions, had their doubt, and this is just finally, we have the main character's perspective. We get to just jump right into it and not drag things out. And that actually has me incredibly hopeful for future story arcs, that when we get things such as this, we don't drag it out just for the sake of it. If it has to be extended for periods of times, episodes upon episodes, before we get that big battle or get that confrontation, it'll obviously have meaning, because they could have milked this situation to death. And I don't think it's going to be all said and done after this. I'm sure there's going to be some tension. I'm sure, they're going to not just go back to being friends and things like that, but it just feels like we're getting resolution at the appropriate moment and not dragging things out just for the sake of being a battle shonen or something like that. And it really lends to it being such a fun series. I think Fire Force is just fun at the end of the day. Every character has an enjoyable personality, and I think there's a kind of trope or just gimmick that will hit most people's kind of desires and interests. And I think as we get going, especially because it is going to run for so long, obviously just this season's going to be 24 episodes, but they are planning on 48 total, so it's going to be fun just watching all these characters light up, both the positive and the negative, how they have the comedy, how they obviously have the fan service, but most importantly, the serious moments, as there was quite a few serious moments throughout this episode, and I'm pretty excited to learn more about the captain and his sister's relationship and what ultimately happened to them that drove that big of a wedge for both people who were working with God to then just toss it away and kind of just become something that would look like a devil from most people's perspectives, because look at some of those reactions. She's just something else, but you can't help but love her because of her crazy persona. So I think overall the action was pretty fun. This might have actually been my favorite action of the episode, just because we got so much creativity with a lot of the characters' mechanics, and I'm just excited to see what Shinra as well as Arthur and the rest are going to do with next week's episode, because a lot of the characters have been dealt with and they didn't struggle too much, and that's also another thing I'm actually quite happy about. It's not like this is like their endgame battle, so they can just wipe the floor with a lot of these characters, and it's just eye candy, but it's also just pure entertainment without dragging things along to have a really pointless fight be like, okay, we just spent half an episode fighting a bunch of goons, why do we need that? No, they take them out with one swoop. And obviously someone like Shinra, if he's going up against the captain, of course that's going to be lasting a lot longer, a lot more focus on that, because that's the battle we should focus on. So I just think they have the balance right now. I mean, there was a couple of hiccups in the earlier episodes, but this right now, if they keep on this path, if this is a good representation of what Fire Force is going to be going forward, with the balance of serious comedic and just getting things moving without making it feel too fast or too slow in terms of the pacing, Fire Force is going to be an excellent just first core by the time this wraps up, and then going into its second and future cores. I think the series will have a very bright future if it keeps on this path. Often with anime fire, a lot of times it'll come across as stock footage because they'll just have a campfire and they'll use stock footage for obvious reasons, but just the way they detail the explosions, it just looks so realistic despite being animated. And And I hope that continues for the future of this series, because it's Fire Force, right? Fire is kind of like the main thing for the powers, the explosions. And if they keep on this level of detail, it just feels like real fires and explosions going off. And I think I can speak for many that this is the detail that really helps sell what Fire Force is aiming for on a visual level, among the amazing character expressions, of course. This is a exceptionally strong episode. I thought this was completely remarkable, a lot of personality, with enough drama to make us feel like it is more than just jokes at the end of the day. So yeah, I thought this was a great episode of Fire Force overall, but for manga readers, how did you enjoy the adaptation? Anime originals like myself, favorite moment, where you think next week is going to go? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video though, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.